What's that telling us about our customer base in developed countries? This was a commercial, huge success for them. Our problems with hoki, by the way, increased when in the Wall Street Journal they followed this through with an op-ed called Targeted at New Zealand, Targeted at Hoki, which talked of, quote, from the deep Pacific, ugly and tasty with a catch. Now, New Zealand seafood industry, I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, was worked overtime to counter this, but this sort of reputational risk we can frankly do without. Now, there are numerous other examples involving Nike, its complex codes, Starbucks, Dell, Intel, and even good old McDonald's, which of course is one of our key customers. I negotiated the 213,000 TRQ for manufacturing beef into the US and the Uruguay route. It's been so much sweat on that, the figure will be forever indelibly imprinted on my mind. Now what the McDonald's is now doing is extending environmental concerns through its supply chain. Buys its fish from suppliably managed fisheries, and has policies in place, probably aimed at Brazil, would be my assumption, not to buy beef from cattle suppliers who destroy rainforests. It's also working to end the use of antibiotics in food products, reduce pesticides, and find more humane slaughtering methods. So, what are we hearing? We're hearing not our customer per se, but the people that interface between us and our customers moving in this direction. That's why I said I don't think it's that hard to see where political and economic markets are moving, and I think we need to be in the right space. Now let me tease this out a little further with respect to climate change. Now, first of all, I read your speeches, Don. I know what your views are, and I know the views of many of your supporters. Some of them may be complete climate change skeptics, don't believe it's happening, or if they believe it's happening, they don't believe the New Zealand government should be doing anything about it, and in particular that agriculture should be excluded from the ETS. Now that's fine, we're a democratic country, you're entitled to your views, and you won't find this government ridiculing people who hold alternative views to its own. My own view on climate change is very practical. I use two metaphors to explain my views. The first was stolen directly from Arnold Schwarzenegger in his new life as Governor of California, who put it like this. He's well aware that there are scientists who don't agree with the standard UN line. He said, well, if my son is sick, and I have 9 physicians saying, your son is sick, you should take him to a hospital, do something about it, and one saying, this is a naturally occurring phenomenon, he'll get over it, don't do anything, what do? I take my son to the hospital. Second, for a country that depends on trade and therefore has to listen to its customers, does it even sound remotely sensible if the world said, well, hang on, we're going down there, but New Zealand says, no, well, we don't agree with that, we're going over here. I mean, to put it in plain terms, I don't think that sounds very sensible. So, I'm well aware that there are very complex issues around climate change and agriculture. This government, I can assure you, is extremely conscious of the need to tread very carefully the line between having a defensible position internationally on climate change, preparing for where we think political and economic markets are moving, without, in effect, destroying the productive base of this economy. We stood on a platform explicitly saying New Zealand would not be a leader on climate change, that we would seek balance, and we got, in our view, the public endorsement for that position. Highly general, but perfectly able to be put into concrete policy terms. The Prime Minister and I have also been deeply involved in launching an initiative that I think will become a big deal for New Zealand, called the Global Alliance, which is about attracting serious international research money into agriculture and climate change, with the aim also of looking to boost agricultural productivity as a byproduct. We are getting a lot of buy-in for this initiative. Watch this space. It will take some time to bring together, but I'm extremely confident we will. Now, the debate in New Zealand, in my opinion, is very confused, and it may have been deliberately confused by certain political personalities. I'm not going to try and develop this in detail, but I want to make my personal view quite clear here. Actually, the risk is not that if we didn't come on board climate change that New Zealand would face for many governments in the near term, any government-imposed access barriers to New Zealand agriculture. I know that argument has been made. I think it's false. It's scaremongering made by people who either have got other motives for scaremongering or not sufficiently understand the issue at a more sophisticated level. The real risk, well, there might be in the long term a risk from what are called BTAs, or border tax adjustments, but this is not something that's foreseeable in the next 5 to 7, 8 years. The risk is not like governments, it's that our customers, or rather the people that interface between us and our customers, may decide to take this into account and walk away from New Zealand sourcing over issues around environmental practices, climate change, or other PPMs, which is the technical term for production processes and methods. That to me is a long-term issue, and I will strongly recommend you do not treat it lightly. Now, we basically need to move towards product integrity across the supply chains that we need to now develop, both new sophisticated considerations for our developed country markets and food quality standards for our new largely Asian customers. I think we can do it, but it will require a lot of effort. So, to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, what am I saying here? Well, I'm saying, first of all, that we face unusually favourable long-term prospects for New Zealand trade, and particular New Zealand trade in agriculture, compared to the last 40 years. We are a world-scale and world-class agricultural player in a world that's got to grow food supply by 50% in the next 20 years. Second, the likelihood of further massive income growth in developing countries is strong. They cannot provide the protein that their huge emerging middle class will demand. We can. Third, water is crucial to all agriculture, consuming 70% of all liquid fresh water on the planet. Most of our competitors and many of our customers have massive water problems. Our problem is the opposite, marshalling better the massive waste of water that falls on New Zealand. And finally, we've solved largely the transcendent problem that's bedeviled New Zealand agriculture for 40 years, access to markets. So our trade policy has, by any realistic measure, been outstandingly successful, and there is more to come. But against that, we face some new challenges. In Asia, we need to develop new and more complex supply chains with customers that we're only beginning to get to know. Second, in our traditional European and North American markets, we face new demands from our customers that I've tried to explain, and potential restrictions not from governments, but from the people that interface between us and our customers. So, I think we've got sophistication in this country to rise to these challenges and take advantage of this very much improved situation facing New Zealand. So, I think, that's where things are headed, and I don't think it's that hard to see where they're headed. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you're with us as we move down the road. Thank you very much.